Good evening, everyone. My name is Reg Leidl, and I am the principal at McDonald School in Stockholm, Saskatchewan. A very small school, 100 students, K to 9. I teach full-time, pretty much 85% teaching and a little bit of time for admin. And my background is in physical education. So this year, teach full-time, pretty much 85%. Some feedback on landing your first job in education. So a couple of things that have changed over time. I think if you're looking for a job, especially a teaching job, the world is at your feet. There are so many positions out there, and I think lots of times what happens is people get maybe pigeonholed a little bit and just try to stay in one area for various reasons. That's important, but maybe at a personal level. But if you're looking for jobs, they're definitely out there, and sometimes they may not fit where you want to be, but the opportunity to teach is there. So and there's also a different lay of the land as well too in Canada. Different provinces have different expectations. So coming from Saskatchewan, I can give you a little bit of a background, but I'll also toss in some things that are happening in the other provinces that may help you out. First one is I can't stress enough, if you're trying to get a position, is to be prepared. So if you send out a resume to a school division, it's really important to do your homework, because sometimes what happens is, say for me, I might get 50 or 60 applications for a position. So something needs to stand out. And when that crosses my desk, if it looks like someone's not prepared, that already eliminates your opportunity to even get shortlisted or to have a chance at an interview. So the other part that I can't stress enough is, if you're applying for a position, try to find some connection. Is there somebody that you know within that school division or area or city? Say that. So if your third cousin twice removed is in that community, kids at school, somehow get that information out. That is pretty helpful. So can't stress that enough. And the other part that happens is, when you're searching there, if you can expand your I guess your repertoire as a teacher. What else do you have to offer besides just that you're applying for a teaching position? Is there something else unique about you as an individual or person that might be intriguing, or would be an opportunity for the school or the community, or just some personal connection? Can't stress that enough. The other part is your resume. So lots of times students ask me what should they put in a resume and so on. Just speaking from someone that looks through lots of them, this is just personal, but the shorter the better. Really, really long resumes, sometimes we just don't have time to go through them. So something short, something personal. Lots of times employers like to know what you did before you went to university, what kind of summer jobs you held, just sort of those tidbits around maybe what it was like before you even entered university, what summer jobs you held during university, or what opportunities for practicums you did, or where did you work, volunteer work. Those types of things are really important. Even though what you learned in university and maybe what your major and minor is, it's all important, but lots of times everybody applying for that position has those credentials. So you want to try to stand out in some way. The other part is your references are big. So if you can get a reference that is connected to the place that you're applying to. So if your reference knows the director in our school division or someone in the community, those types of connections are big. So in Saskatchewan, it's very, very small, 28 school divisions. Every superintendent knows every other superintendent and director, so those connections are important. So certain people have a very good reputation if they give you a reference, and I look at your resume and I see that person's on your reference list. Um, that's somebody that your stock's going to rise in terms of, because I would make a phone call to that person and say, hey, would this person fit the position that we're looking for? Next one, I call it old school, but you need to phone. So if you're applying for at the school where I work, please phone me. Um, you're not offending me. I'm busy all the time. It doesn't really matter. So principals are busy. If someone brushed you off with a phone call, it might not be worth working there. People phone me all the time and say, "Hey, I'm interested in this job. This is what I have to offer." So when their resume comes in and crosses my desk, I have a greater chance of looking at it, and I will look at it, because you might say, "Hey, this is the reason why I need this job," or "I want this job," or there's a connection. My partner's working in the area. Just anything. All that information is really important, and sometimes you can't. I may not be able to find that by reading through your resume, but a phone call is worth it. So, like, literally pick up the phone the school, contact somebody, and that information is huge. Um, the next one, I call it paying your dues. Uh, we're looking. School is so multifaceted now. So those extra pieces that you do. So if you volunteer somewhere, if you're mentoring students, if in Ontario, if you are on the supply list, and you've done substitute teaching, or you volunteered at a school, have to get that information out. In Saskatchewan, you don't have to be on a supply list at all. So kids coming out right out of university can apply immediately to positions. So we need to know what your community service is, public service, social responsibility, any of those issues, where you volunteered your time. What's important to you as a person? Those items are really quite important. In rural areas, they're going to want to know what you can do in the community and what you can offer. And the questions sometimes might surprise you, either in an interview or on the phone. But locally, that's what people are looking for. Another strategy is to emulate success. I call it looking for, if you can find someone who's an awesome mentor, or someone that you want to be, and you're actually working with them. Maybe it's a teacher that you had, a professor that you had. Use those people as someone that you could talk to, because oftentimes they'll have connections, or they will know somebody that knows somebody within the system. And those phone calls are important. So as an example, if I know you had a certain professor, and that professor calls me and says, "Hey, I have a student that's looking for a position," those things are really important. And the other part is, you want to stress in this whole process, you want to stress that it's not just a job, or you're just a teacher. You want to be great at your position, and people are, and principals and directors and superintendents are looking for that. I would stress this really importantly. School divisions throughout Canada are hiring character, is what they're hiring first. Within our system, or any system, if you were hired into the system I work in, the school division would look after giving you the professional development you would need. When we interview, we are looking for good people, that teach kids, not content. So that would be what we would be looking for. There's the world is full of very good technical teachers. They know how to teach content, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you can teach children. So character is pretty important, and I'll give some highlights about what that would look like in an interview process. So here would be some interview strategies that I think that would really work. When you get to that, so if you finally get to be interviewed, here's what it would look like. So number one, you have to look and dress the part. So I don't want to sound old school, but if if you're not dressed as a professional coming in for the interview, with the people that I sit with on interviews, it turns them off right away. So your appearance, your first impression, do you look like a teacher? It's going to have to be there. So the second one is you need to be yourself. Don't. It's kind of tough to come in and be really, really anxious and then say, "Hey, I'm really good working with at-risk kids," because the two don't fit. So you want to be yourself. You want to be relaxed. Take a bottle of water along. Be who you are in the interview. You want to be confident, but you want to be humble. You want to make sure that you exude the confidence that you could do the job. But the biggest thing in an interview is if you get asked a question and you don't know the answer, please don't give an answer. With the colleagues that I work with, and we interview lots of people, we're always looking for that humility piece or that maturity piece. So sometimes if you say, "I'm sorry, I don't understand your question. I don't have those qualifications," that's going to give you're going to have more credibility coming out with an honest answer than if you say, "Oh, I can I can do anything," and then we find out after that you didn't have any of those skills. So that's a tough one. So you don't want to do that. We have way more credibility when someone says, so as an example, if you're asked, can you do understanding by design or backwards design unit planning. And if you have no idea what that is, tell us you have no idea what that is. We can teach you that. Again, character is way more important than the content piece. So I'm not too interested if you kind of tell me what I want to hear. I'm really interested in what you can do. If you can't do something, we'll teach you. So sell your attributes. Make sure that what you're good at, we know that. So if you're really good at teaching math, then tell us that. If you're really good at coaching volleyball, let us know that. That's pretty important. If you're not good at coaching volleyball, let us know that too, because that is the piece of information that we're going to need. Be clear about your imperfections. It's not going to hurt you in an interview. At least it won't for us. If you give us, hey, I'm not very strong in this area, but I'm willing to learn, great answer. We need to know that. What we don't want to know is, oh, I'm really great at that, and then we find out later that you're not. Try to answer the questions directly or clearly. Sometimes people tend to veer right away from a question if they don't know the answer, and it's pretty easy to pick that out in an interview. So usually it sends up a flag that maybe someone isn't really quite telling us everything that we were looking for. And also know too that there's more to the interview than just those answers that you're giving. Usually interviewers are looking for something, and they'll be very clear about what they're looking for. So you might even feel that the questioning is sort of steering towards one area, and every school or every interview is, we're looking for somebody that can fill that part, and we're pretty specific. And we also have children that you're going to be working with that we know we need a certain type of person to be working with them. So that's why the questions are pretty direct. If you can give those honest answers, that is very, very helpful. Another thing you have to remember is I do many interviews in our system. So if you don't get the position through an interview process, that doesn't mean that you've hurt your chances for another job. Because if you're honest about the answers, we might say, wow, we have a job, 20 miles down the road, or the next school, in the next neighborhood is looking for a teacher just like you. And then we'll get on the phone and talk to the principal and say, hey, we just interviewed somebody that doesn't maybe fit our school, but this would be a perfect fit in another area. So always remember that your interview is just not for that one position. And sometimes you might have to wait a year, but lots of times I've interviewed people and found out a year later that all of a sudden the position they were looking for came up. So, and I'll give you some strategies about how you can bide your time over that. Couple things. As the interview always ends, if there's a chance that you didn't get a chance to submit or talk about something that maybe was missed, please make sure. Everybody always gives you an opportunity at the end. So let them know what you're thinking, and just say, hey, this is something that you didn't ask me about, but I'm really, really good at. That's important. And then another part is never try to leave the interview unless unless you know what the next steps are. So if I said, hey, I am going to phone you by 6 o'clock tonight, we'll have a decision. That's huge. There's nothing wrong with asking. Sometimes school divisions will say, we need to take 3 days, or we're not going to get back to you for a while. Just that's okay. But make sure you leave the interview knowing what the process is. Lots of times we'll ask for your cell number or a direct way to contact you so that we can give you that information as quickly as possible. But never leave unless you have that. That's pretty important. If you get the job, if you do interview and you get the position, that's awesome. I mean, that's awesome, and congratulations on that part. And then I think the biggest thing is once you have the position, ask lots of questions, because especially of your principal, that would be huge. And you're not going to be bothering somebody, but there's going to be lots of new things that you won't know. And a good time to get a hold of the principal is right away once you get a position. If you wait, I'm not going to come looking for you. If I hire you, I'm not going to come looking for you before school starts in the fall, because there's just too many things going on. Make sure you ask those questions. Make sure you get the right contact information. Really be proactive, because a large school, I don't have the time to get to everybody. You'll be expected to be a professional immediately. So really ask those questions. If you've got me on the phone, or if I'm congratulating you and you've got lots of questions, or call the next day, and it can be soup to nuts. Like, where are you going to say? What am I going to teach? Where am I at? All those questions, as many questions as you can ask. You're not going to be a bother, because that's a good time to ask, because usually hirings are done. You've got sort of a lag time or lead time before you actually step into your position. Not too many people get hired on a Friday and start teaching Monday. So, and if you do, you better ask a lot of questions that Friday night once you get the job, because that usually in those situations you'll be pretty busy right away to start. So the more questions, the better. What happens if you don't get the job? So number one, when you're on the phone after you've been declined. So if you're talking to the director or the superintendent and they say that you didn't get the position, always be professional. I'm going to say take the high road all the time, but ask really good questions. First of all, thank them for the opportunity. That phone call is hard sometimes for us to make, especially if it was a really close competition. So don't be too alarmed about that. The second one is you can ask. You can say, hey, what didn't I have that somebody else didn't have? And you'll get an answer, because there is a reason, right? And good school divisions, and good character people that are interviewing you, just like we're looking for good character, you're also going to find that you're going to apply in some systems where you're going to really receive good character back. So good character systems will tell you, they'll say, hey, this is what went well in your interview, this is what didn't, this is what we were looking for, these were the shortcomings that you had. And then you can also, when it gets to that point of the conversation, you can ask, especially when you're new starting out, you can say, hey, is there anything I can work on? Very rarely you'll get told something about your interview. It would be more, they might say, this might be an area we were looking more for an extracurricular position. We were looking more for someone that maybe had physical education, but we needed a math minor because we've got these 3 math classes to teach next fall. Or we're looking, or we're just saying, hey, this is a really behaviorally challenged class, and we weren't sure if you were ready for that position. That can happen as well too. So, and then finally, you can always ask, are there any other opportunities in our system? Do you know of any other places that are hiring? Can I use you as a kind of a short reference, so that maybe you could pass my comments on, or how I did in my interview to another place. And lots of times, if you do really well in the interview, like I know I've had people do really well in the interview, didn't get the position, and I was on the phone right away and said, and to other principals, and said, hey, you got to interview this person. This is this could really fit your school. And our province is too small. It happens all the time where, I will get calls for somebody we interviewed, and they already know we didn't hire somebody, and they'll say, hey, can you give us some time? What do we need to know? And then we can provide that information back within our system. So by taking the high road, just being really respectful and thanking the school division for the opportunity, but also using it as a way for you to gather more information is huge. So next steps after that would be if you do have a shortcoming, if something was provided to you, if somebody said, this might be a weakness for you moving forward, take that really seriously and see if you can address that. I've had people go back and maybe take a couple extra classes because they knew that just being streamed just in physical education wasn't going to get them the position they wanted where they wanted it. So if that means taking an extra math class or a language arts class or science or something that's going to get your foot in the door, please heed that. And the other part too is if you get feedback on how you interviewed, like take it really seriously. Like if somebody said maybe you were too brash or you didn't appear professional enough, or just any types of those comments that you might get back, take them really seriously and adjust them, because that would be very rarely that we would give that feedback. But if we gave that feedback, it would be really you'd have to take it to heart, because it would cost you an opportunity in other positions. So you want to be humble, but you also want to make those adjustments and keep moving forward. The final part is after the interview, if you've been turned down and it's really discouraging, always remember this: sometimes it's not, and oftentimes it's not you as the person. It hurts, when we're interviewing. We take that seriously. So if we're interviewing 3 people, 2 are going to be disappointed. But don't always keep moving forward, because sometimes it wasn't you. You just weren't the right fit for that position, because you don't just hire. The days of just hiring a teacher nowadays, things are so specialized. So as an example, I would use this example. You're if it's a sport one, we're not going to hire a linebacker to play quarterback. That just doesn't happen anymore. We can't. We rarely are in that position. We have to. Things are so specialized at the school level that we've got to get the right people in the right spots. So if by chance you don't fit that spot, then please provide. Just follow that and know that we're trying to be really. We want to be supportive as you move forward, but we also want to make sure that that you have a foundation so that you can get a position within the system. So continue to build that strong foundation. Always keep moving forward. Be optimistic. Explore all options. Reevaluate your expectations. Sometimes really choice jobs within a school system don't go to someone right out of university. They might be looking for somebody with experience, or there's other people within the school that are moving up. So sometimes you might not find the position you're totally looking for, but you need to get your foot in the door and get in the system. Many people in Saskatchewan here, very few of us are actually teaching in the areas of our specialization. We all started somewhere, and it usually wasn't what we were trained in. We got in, and then from there branched into our area of specialty. Always take action and try not to worry, because the more you worry and press, that doesn't help anything. So just take action. I always say worry is needless. I know it's frustrating, but people find work. There's work out there. You may have to reevaluate your expectations, but it may be there. In Saskatchewan, like say 5 or 6 years ago, many teachers that were being employed here were from out of province. So people in other provinces that couldn't find a position took a chance on coming here. Now it's that has sort of slowed down, but right now, if you're looking at the landscape of Canada, British Columbia is advertising for teachers. They cannot get enough teachers at all levels and on all stages of experience. So that would have been unheard of 8 years ago, and now they're advertising all over the place for people to move to British Columbia to teach. So just always explore all your options. And maybe that position you were hoping for right in your hometown or wherever that would be, that may not be realistic. But keep taking action and always keep looking. There is a position out there for you. So just keep selling yourself. The other one too is don't be discouraged about your subject area. So in physical education, I think it's the greatest subject to teach, and I think it's the foundation of everything that we do within the school system. So I hire physical education teachers that can teach all the other subject areas. That's what I'm looking for, because they have leadership. They have they're doing extracurricular. They're involved in the community. Active kids are happy kids. Active kids learn better. But another principal down the road is looking for everybody that can teach student support. So if you're a special ed teacher, you can teach anybody, and that's what they're looking for. So, but just know that in physical education, that the future's pretty bright, because you do have opportunities to teach. Because the people I work with teach everywhere within the school, but there's always a place for you to find that passion part, especially when it comes to coaching, or recess time or noon hour or intramurals. There's an opportunity for you to use your skills as a physical educator within the school system. As much as I love physical education, it's a small part of my job. So it's the best part of my job, but it's a small part in terms of what I do as a leader here at the school, and as a teacher, and as a citizen within our community. So so that kind of wraps up my presentation. It's a journey. Good luck in the journey. But if there's any questions that I didn't answer tonight, or there's anything that you would like to get back to me on, feedback on what I did, or if there's anything that I missed, I would be more than happy to email you or send you that information. And but even right now, if there's any questions or comments or anything that I could help you with, I'm open to some questions. So.
Hi, Reg.
Hi.
There is one question from SMJ in Ontario. What are some organizations or groups that I might want to reach out to from a networking perspective, or events to attend?
Okay, awesome. Great question. So I'm going to say PHE Canada. Become a member in Saskatchewan or in any of the provinces. If you're a physical education student, or you want to be a physical educator, join your provincial organization. Most, like in Saskatchewan, it's SPIA. In Ontario, it's OFIA. It's HPEC in Alberta. There's basically a subject council or a professional growth network that will cater to students. Get involved. Phone their executive director or their office. Those are the physical educators in the province that are the movers and shakers. So they will know of somebody, or they know people. So they could provide that information for you to contact them, and then they could go and they can contact their contacts, and then the network just grows from there. So there are groups that are out there. I don't think it ever hurts to attend. Career fairs are definitely worth going to. Again, I know my superintendent gets to see people and talk to them, and it's almost like a mini interview while you're there. And I know it sounds, I mean, they're handing out cookies and whatever, and they're trying to get students to walk by their booth. But every time they come back, they say, "Hey, I met this person, and I think it might be a good fit." So they're looking all the time. Any of the conferences that you could go to, if you can get a reduced rate to go to the provincial physical education conferences. If you have a chance to ever go to the National PHE Canada one, which is, I know it's in Whistler this year, but if you're from BC and you're there, again, a great way to network. Any teacher organization, provincial organization. So in Saskatchewan, it's called the Saskatchewan Teachers Federation. Any event under any subject area. So like if I go to the language arts conference, the provincial one, as a student, or even and as a principal, I'm just going to meet a whole bunch of people that from all over the province, and that's how the networking works. And it doesn't hurt to meet people and just say, hey, I'm looking for a job, or I'm going to be done in a couple of months, and I'd like to get out. I'd like to do this. So one area in our country where there's a huge shortage of teachers, and it's going to be huge every year, is if you want to go to the north. So so if, like in northern Saskatchewan, like right now the Northern Lights School Division is short 8 teachers. So the system is running and they don't have enough people teaching there. But lots of times people don't want to go up to the north. So but there's positions there. So and then other people are thriving in that environment. So they love that. So lots of times if you look and if you ask lots of questions, there are jobs out there.
Okay, so one more question from Cheryl. Does volunteer time on your resume influence if you get a job? How much volunteering should I be expected to do?
I don't think it's as much as maybe what you've done. This is something that I've heard, and it is something that I look for myself. And I'm not saying that this is standard practice. Some directors or superintendents will look very specifically at, the courses you took. So as an example, if we're looking for a physics teacher in high school, you're going to have physics to teach that, right? Not anybody can just drop in and teach physics 30 or grade 12 physics. But when it comes to volunteering, though, here are the things that I look for. I look for the challenge of it. I'm looking for people that possibly have worked with kids. Anything in the medical profession, like if you volunteered at a hospital, working with at-risk or underserved youth is also important. People that work in care homes, work with the elderly. You have to be a different type of person to do that. And the skills so as an example, if you've got really good skills and you can work with old people in a care home, especially at the end of their lives, because that's not an easy job. If you have the patience for that, you can probably teach. And I'll don't take this personally for anybody that's out there listening tonight, but sometimes in education, if you've been kicked around a little bit before you got into education, that can certainly help you when you're working with at-risk kids. So I'll give you an example at the school here where I work. The most disadvantaged, underserved young children coming into our school, these are 4, 5, 6-year-olds. I always pair them with the most underserved and disadvantaged students that are in grade 9. Or grade 10, 11, and 12, because I've got lots of high school experience as well, because they can connect, they get it. But if you're coming from a privileged environment and then you're in a classroom and it doesn't fit when you're working with underserved kids, because it's not going to fit, it's not going to be clean. Not everybody's going to listen and do what they need to do. But if somebody has empathy and been in those situations, and I look at that on your resume, that tweaks for me. So in Saskatchewan, if you've been volunteering on the farm and you've been getting up at 4 o'clock and you've been doing chores your whole life, and then you go to university and get a degree, I'll notice that on your resume. If it's a token summer job and you weren't really working too hard and you weren't really that interested in kids, I'm not so sure how much I would be looking for that, because it's always easy to teach kids that are going to listen and be able to learn. Sometimes what we're looking for is somebody that can teach the kids that can't. Just being honest.
Okay, another question. What if I have a disagreement in my teaching practicum with the teacher I'm paired with? Any suggestions on how to mend that relationship? Or what if I don't agree with how he or she is teaching?
Okay, that's an easy one. Take the high road. Because here's what happens. So let's say I'm the cooperating teacher and you're working with me and it doesn't fit with what you were learning in university, or it just doesn't fit. Maybe I'm not doing a really good job, but I'm not terrible in your eyes or whatever. I'm not children or anything that's really awful. I think you have to be careful, because what you do is if you call, I'm not going to say call me out, but if you kind of approach that and say, hey, you're not teaching the right way, that's probably not going to go over very well. So I think how you approach that, well, you'd have to be really sensitive. I think what you need to do is you're going to get an opportunity in your practicum or your internship to teach, and you're going to have autonomy sometime, right? That teacher's not going to be sitting there all the time. So I think you got to let what happens while it's going on. But when you get a chance to teach the kids without undermining someone, and I know that's a fine line, but you don't want to undermine your cooperating teacher. That's not going to look really good. What if that cooperating teacher, maybe if they're not that good of a teacher, what if they're very popular though? That could happen, right? So they could actually hurt your chances down the road of getting a job. Because if I look, so as an example, if that teacher's not that strong, and you're disagreeing with how they're teaching, or maybe their practices are archaic or old, and it's not going to fit. But if I look at your resume and that teacher's name isn't on there, I'm going to figure out right away that something's not right. Or if you interned and the principal's name isn't on that resume, then I'm going to know something's up, right? It didn't fit. So it's a really fine line for you. I think have those conversations when things are good, not certainly when they're bad, and always remember that it's all about the learning. Just so you know, it's not any different for me. I work with lots of people in a system that are above me. So I have to be very careful. If you get a reputation of somebody that just challenges people all the time and doesn't kind of walk the talk, that can really hurt you. Another one is you don't have a lot of experience when you're coming out as a first year teacher. You might think you know what's going on, but the reality might be totally different if you have a different group of kids. So I always say just take the high road. Try to have conversations. Say, rather than challenging what's going on, say, hey, I'm going to start teaching next week, and this is what I would like to do. And 9 times out of 10, that person might say, hey, yeah, you go for it, right? And you might have to find middle ground. Maybe the assessment practices are terrible, right? So maybe you just work on your assessment practices and you refine your craft in the background, but you might just have to give the school or that teacher what they need. But when you get out and you become a teacher in that position, then remember that you've got those skills in the background. It's a fine line. I understand that. But I think challenging your co-op teacher, I mean, unless it's an issue of flat out abuse, which would be totally different, but that you'd have to be careful, because you're going to need that person to move forward, to make a difference.
Another question, any ideas on how to give the students I'm teaching homework in phys ed?
You mean to give homework in phys ed?
Yeah, so Brent's asking how to give the students that he's teaching homework in phys ed.
Oh, Brent, I'm not looking for any homework in K to 12. This is just me, but research is pretty straight on this one, that that homework isn't as really effective as people think it is. So I would use this though. Rather than homework in physical education, I would strongly encourage kids to be as active as possible after school. So I like the 30-30-30 thing. 30 minutes of activity at school, 30 minutes in the home, 30 minutes in the community. Get your kids to love what they're doing, and then apply that after school. So as an example, in reading all the time, our homework for reading is you got to take a book from the library and read it. Like, take something you love. We don't assign anything, but we really want you to read that book tonight. And if you're really having trouble and you're a little guy, then I'll phone mom and dad and ask them to read the book. That's homework. So try to do maybe the same thing in physical education. Maybe it could be something as simple as can you increase your steps outside of school, or this weekend? What are you planning to do that would increase that? What's something fun that you're going to do? Are you going to go tobogganing after school? Count tobogganing as after school with your friends as homework. Here's my favorite one though. If you really want to make a difference for lifelong learning in physical education, get the kids to play with their parents. Huge. So to me, that would be the biggest one in homework. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But I love it when if you're working with kids and they leave K to 12 and they become parents themselves, and if they learn from you to play with their children so that they can model physical activity, you've got lifelong active learners. That's the whole key. I'm positive that's the key. So that would be my take on it. Not that worried about skill. In physical literacy, you're only as competent as how you want to be. So I might not be the best golfer in the world, but I love it. So there's a reason for that. I only have to be competent enough to really enjoy it. So I also know lots of kids who are incredibly skilled but absolutely hate the sport they're playing, and that saddens me. So how's that for a long answer? Sorry.
And then he followed up with another question, asking what if the school culture doesn't buy into the Zen?
Oh, that's a lot of schools. Like I'm an anomaly in terms of like I'm totally convinced that physical education is the key to what makes happy kids, especially if it's done properly. If you're in a school that doesn't, and you're going to be in those positions, here's something I say lots. If you really want to make an impact and change when it comes to physical activity, become a principal as fast as possible. That's what you will have autonomy in the gym, or any of the venues that you use that you teach physical education in. So when you have your class, you'll have autonomy. Do the very best you can with the kids that you have. Systemically, you can't change that. If your principal says to do it this way, you probably got to do it that way, or you're not going to have a job for very long. But it sounds really corny, but for me to be a principal, the minute I became a principal, I was able to. Then I was accountable to the timetable, and we were able to have quality daily physical education. I was accountable to, I get to buy what equipment we need and resources we need for physical education. So be a principal as quick as you can. It's not all what it's cracked up to be, but you definitely can run a program from there. The other part is, though, just make a difference with where you are within the system. There are still things that you can do, even within a school that doesn't value physical education. You can still make a difference with the kids that you have every class. You can still make a difference during recess and noon hour, before or after school. You can still make a difference coaching, and maybe not even coaching in the school. You might, I do lots of coaching outside of school within the community, and maybe that's my ticket to model it. Just keep modeling it. And sometimes, I've known people that just couldn't get anywhere, but they sure made a difference with their homeroom class. The 20 kids they had all day. They changed their lives with those 20 kids. Maybe they couldn't do anything with the 200 in the school, but for those 20, they made a difference. It's like the starfish analogy. For everyone you throw back into the ocean, you made a difference for that starfish. So.
Jennifer had a comment that there's a lack of resources in the school that she's at, that she's placed in. So maybe you can offer some suggestions or way around that for Jennifer to still get the students that she's teaching active.
In any province, well, first of all, PHE Canada, call their office. It's their job to try to find resources or support for people that are in those positions. Phone the sport or the Provincial Physical Education Association. So in Saskatchewan, it would be SPIA, or Ontario would be OFIA. The other one is, I always phone every sport governing body. So, and I know I don't use the sport model when I'm teaching, but as an example, here in Saskatchewan, Curling Saskatchewan has phenomenal resources. When I talk to them and say, hey, I'm trying to get curling going in my community, I get all kinds of free stuff. They're looking for that. They need our numbers in order to get their grant money. So every sport that you can think of out there has a provincial organization and a national one. Write them a letter or go to their website or pick up the phone. Always pick up the phone. I still think the phone's the best. Pick up the phone and say, hey, I need a broom ball kit out here. I got, it's 40 below for 2 months. I need to be doing this. I need some equipment. They'll get it to you because they need your kids for numbers to get their grant money. So there's lots of free stuff out there. I tend to hit as many websites as I can. If anybody's given anything free, I'm asking for it or I'm taking it. The other part you have to remember is it might not always fit your curriculum, but there's going to be pieces of it that will. And if you can get free equipment anywhere, whether it's used or whatever, take it, go for it.
That was the last question that came in. So if you have any last remarks that you want to make to everyone, Reg?
Well, first of all, it's really humbling to be asked to do this. I also know that just so you know, like I've interviewed many times over my career for other positions, and was I haven't been as successful as I was hoping for, and so I know that feeling of rejection when it doesn't happen. But you know what? You there's a reason for everything. I always believe in life that you're going to end up there. There's a reason why things happen. So that's why don't worry about it. Work hard. Continue to refine your craft. Whatever job that you do get. Or if it means that you've got to volunteer to get in the system, or you've got a coach in your community, or whatever you need to do, just keep your head high. Always take the high road, and do the best you can. Because once you do get in, now that I'm at the end of my career, I'm going to think more about. I want it to end as great as I could be. I just don't want to be. I just don't want to be in the system. I want to really make a difference, and I want to do the best that I can. That's the beauty of it. If you're a physical educator, and I've been fortunate to have that my whole life, as a teacher, it's absolutely awesome. So I have nothing but good things to say about the phys ed people that I've been around for my career. They're the best people in the world. They've been very, very good to me. And if you can be a part of that fraternity, and make difference for children and get to know great people, it's an awesome life. So I wish you all the best. And if there's any way that I can help you moving forward, please let me know.